Hey all, welcome to, I guess, my lap guide on how to get the most out of the car. Um, I actually tried to record a video before this. It ended up being 30 minutes long and it saved automatically. I only got to about sector 1 because I went so much into detail. Anyway, so I'm just going to run through it quickly because I only have maximum 30 minutes for this one. Let's hope it doesn't take 30 minutes. So, first things first you want to do is go to your car settings, check your dyno sheet, because I haven't driven this car very much. I've driven this track a lot, obviously, but I haven't driven this car very much at all. So, first thing I did was check my dyno sheet. So, see how the dyno sheet kind of peaks at, let's say, 7,500 revs, or RPM. Anywhere between 7,500 to 7,000, roughly, or the other way around, RPM. So, that's your ideal changing point for the car, which is roughly when your bar at the bottom pretty much fills up. So anything past that, you're just losing power. It could be a little bit past that, you still get a little bit of power, but it's not going to do any harm if you change like a tenth or two later or earlier. It's not really matter, just a kind of rough area. So yeah, have a look at these. If you don't know how to read one, I'd advise going on Google and reading it. Excuse me. It's really helpful. I actually didn't know about these until a few months ago, and it's helped me get the most out of the car. So you can either gain time while going on a straight line. That's, yeah, it sounds crazy, doesn't it? But yeah, so you can gain time while going on a straight line. Anyway, let's go to my lap, because I spent too long talking about it before. Oh my god. Okay, so my lap, obviously you see there is a 129.886. That's actually the fastest lap that I've ever done in this car on this track to date. It also would have been pole position in Sunday's race. Unfortunately, I can only muster a 130.091, starting in 4th position. At least we have SAR teammate FSR DB007 on pole. It'll be great to see what he can do and also see what I can do, whether I can get a good race, push to the front, or at least get a podium for SAR. It'll be great. Anyway, so starting my lap. Obviously, starting the lap, you want to get as much speed as possible coming up to the start finish line. Can use a wheel. Yeah, so obviously, you want to get as much speed. So I take the wide line, get my car pointed towards the apex. Notice how here I'm not even at the apex, and I'm already full throttle. So I'm trying to get as much speed as I can for the first turn. So I get as best time as I can. Obviously, in the race, don't do that because you lose more time trying to set it up than you would actually taking it normally. This is just for qualifying trim. In the race, take the corner normally, as you'll see later on in the video. So yeah, so running up here, choosing what I can, keeping it in a straight line as best I can. Not kind of going left to right, whatever. I'm using all the track I can. So on this first curve here, I'll take all the turn. Right, so right here is my braking point. So turn 1, or turn 2 I guess, I don't know what you call it. Turn 1/2 is, my braking point is here. So anywhere between where this curb starts and the 100-meter board, anywhere between there, and I know that I've hit my braking area, maybe not hit the braking marker, but I've hit the braking area that I can, judge how fast I'm going. If I brake too early, if I brake too late, I can kind of just I can judge it, and I can adjust the braking, or if I need to brake more, if I need to do a bit less. So I've hit my braking area right here. I'm using all the track I can. Keep doing this. So I'm using all the track I can. I didn't get onto that top bit of the curb because that is like a high rise, and long story short, my tyres won't be touching the ground if I get off it. So if I go onto it and then I get off it, my tyres won't be touching the ground for a split second, which could cause 1 or 2 kilometers speed difference, and that could also cause me to understeer because I have to brake more. So there's a lot of factors that play into it. Obviously, I don't have time to explain it all. I tried to explain it before I got to sector 1, and it was half an hour, so it would have been like a 3-hour video. So I'm going to keep it short and sweet. So I didn't get onto that top bit because obviously it'll send me out, understeer, bad quarter. So yeah, it's going slowly. I'm just braking as hard as I can at the start. Now see how I'm starting to get off the brakes? By the time I get to here, I'm still braking. Not as hard though. So I'm trying to balance out the feel that I get from the wheel. I'm trying to balance that out between how much grip I have and how much braking power I need to apply, or how much braking power I can apply without having no grip and understeering, or even oversteering. Um, yeah, and like try not to go straight into the gravel, because that's obviously big no-no. So yeah, I'm just trying to find a balance. If you can find that balance between the amount of grip you have and how much brake pressure you can apply, with still getting that car rotation that you would if you were like normal, like as much rotation as you can. So you want to try and find a balance between getting the rotation of the car with as much grip without sliding anywhere, like without sliding out or understeering, and also the braking power. So you want to try and match all those um, in the turn and find a balance between it all, so you can find the fastest line possible and carry the most apex speed. So that's the apex there. I'm still on the brakes a little bit, but I'm getting off them. So I'm off the brakes by the apex, and I'm starting to accelerate just after the apex. So right now I'm starting to accelerate. So I found that balance between the grip, the braking, and the car rotation. There's a lot of extra things that I could explain, but again, too long. So yeah, doing that, I'm using all the chuck I can. I'm even getting on the inside because this curb is like an off-camber curb, so it'll help me to pull the car around. So you'll see here, right there, it pulls the car around, and I can get on the gas a lot earlier. See, I'm already full throttle. Um, in saying that, I've been full throttle the whole time, pretty much. But yeah, so that's turn 1 and 2. You also want to go out, use as much of the chuck as you can. So there's not really much more I can use there until I hit the off-camber part of the curb that is a slope downwards to the left. That will just chuck me out to the left. You can use the red bit if you run a bit wide. That's the maximum. But make sure you're on the curb at least before the sand, obviously. But yeah, so use as much of the track as you can. Cut here a little bit just the curb. Don't cut the inside curb here. This curb here, if you hit it wrong, it's gonna send your car into the gravel or the sand pit. You're just gonna go absolutely flying. So yeah, use it as much as you can, but don't hit the off-camber part of the curb on the inside. Here, braking marker is anywhere between the glass. The start of the glass, if you get it like right, excuse me, if you get it right, the end of the glass, sorry, can be your braking marker, but you need to get it perfect. It's super hard to get that perfect every lap. The start of the glass is too early. I've learned that because I've smacked the inside barrier a few times. It's too early. So anywhere between that, so between the end of the glass and start of the glass, anywhere between it is your braking area. To pinpoint your braking point, it's a lot more in depth. But yeah, so you pretty much want to brake anywhere between this glass area. So yep, and also brake in a straight line. So see right now, I've got my steering lock pretty much, well, it's a little bit to the left, but you know, it's I guess as straight as it will be. I'm trying to get as much of the curb I can use as possible, and you know, not compromise my entry. So I'm trying to get as much. That's why I was going to the left a bit. So it's all straight. Now I'm starting to turn. Start to turn. Try and find the balance again between rotation. So see how I'm still at least 60% braking power, so I can't turn as much as I could have. So if I was at 40% right now, I couldn't turn as much as I could have, as much as I can, because one, I'll understeer off. Two, because the speed and the grip that I have would be too much for the car's rotation. So I would oversteer and like backward step out. So pretty much, it's going slow. I get off the brakes slowly. You can see it on the brake bar. Getting off the brakes slowly, slowly, slowly. I'm using the camber of the turn. So the turn is like a downhill, then it goes up to a uphill, kind of like a little crest. It's small. It's very small, but it's there. You can use that and take a lot more speed than what you think. Making sure I'm hitting the apex. Yeah, using this curb. This curb kind of actually helps somehow drag the car around. Also with the banking of the turn, it really helps the drive around. So going out, using as much of the curb and as much of the track as possible. And then getting off the curb obviously before the grass. So that's obvious. So just that in speed, that curb in full flight, using it as much as I can. Now I'm trying to get the highest apex speeds I can. That's sector 1, 30.49. Here again, I'm not going to hit that curb there because obviously with the car bouncing around, it'll wipe a K or two off my speed, and being on this massive straight that's now flat out, you want as many Ks as you can get. So here, it's just use as much of the curb as possible, well, not curb, the track. So any further out, I'm in the grass and I'm in it. So that's what you want to do. Try and use as much of the tarmac and the track as possible, especially on turns like this that are flat out. You want to get the shortest line possible, but you also want to get the straightest line possible, because the more you turn your car, the harder it is for your car to pull forward and for it to gain speed. Yeah, so you want to try and get as straight as line as possible while going flat out here. So you don't want to lift this whole thing at all. So doing it in full flight. I'm using all the track as much as I can. Again, any further over on this one, and I've hit the off camber part of the turn. And I'm just gonna have the back end step out because the front will be in there. The back end will have a lot less grip and it'll step out, and that's my lap done. So using all of it, make sure I get perfect on that curb and just full flight. I probably could use a little bit more there, but then again, you also want to get the straightest line possible. So you don't always need to be right on the limit on the curb on the edge of like that off camber part of the curb where it is sloped down. You want to kind of if you can help it, maybe sometimes not hit the curb, because the curbs are bouncy. It does wipe like half a kilometer over time off your max speed. So it does help, and it does hurt if you do hit them sometimes. So you just want to get as much as you can. Again, just using all of the curb, try and get as straight a line as possible, and going all the way out. So don't go all the way out like if you don't need to. If you can keep your car in a straight line, that's like faster than what you would if you were going all the way out to the curb, like to the edge of it. Just get it in a straight line. It's easier to go straight. It's faster to go straight than try and make the most of the track. I'm probably not making sense, but I only have like so yeah, staying to the left. Here, I actually don't touch the curb. I try not to brake on the curb. I use the track because the track's more level. I'm getting a consistent braking power. I'm not having the car kind of bounce around and jiggle around on the curb, and the tires like kind of not touching the ground for a split second every like curb hit, like the little ripple strips on the curb, whatever it is. So I found here I can brake later if I stick to the tarmac. So yeah, so my braking point right now is just that light that kind of reaches out to the curb. So the light on the ground, which is just before the 100-meter mark. If there's no light on the floor, 110, 115 meters, 115 would be your braking point roughly. So you always want to kind of try and find that braking area and try and identify that braking point. So yep, I use that here. You know, I'm off the throttle, almost pretty much. Yep, so off the throttle, starting to brake. So notice how I'm braking off the curb. So these things, like this curb in particular, hurts. I don't know why. Maybe because it's like the hardest braking point of the circuit. But yeah, this curb hurts a lot. So I tend to not brake on it. I tend to stick off it. So yeah, let's go in there. Again, just turning in, finding that balance between how much I can turn in, and see how I went like 2 meters there, and I'm already down to 50% braking power. Is because this turn requires a lot of rotation. So I need to slow the car down as fast as I can, but also take it off quickly so I have that extra rotation, but not too quickly so the back end steps out. So it's all, I guess, about finding that balance again. As I said before in the previous turns, it's all about finding the balance of the car's rotation, how much grip you have when braking, how much you can brake, and how much you can slow the car down so you can get later braking points maybe. Yeah, and just how much you can slow the car down with keeping the same level of grip and having the maximum car rotation that you need. So going forward, you can see I've got all the car rotation. It's going well. Using as much of the track as I can. Again, here I don't exactly use the off camber a little bit. I do a little bit there. You kind of see it dip in. But that one you can kind of cut a little bit because you can kind of bounce the car over that gap. So it's kind of like a skateboard. You can bounce it over the gap and skip the part that will throw it off if you get it right. But it's very minimal. So yeah, taking as much speed. So I've just hit the apex pretty much, and I'm already starting to accelerate. So you see my acceleration bar going up now. I'm already starting to accelerate. That as well is the throttle control coming into play. So I'm not accelerating entirely here, but I'm keeping it at about halfway, and I'm gradually increasing it as I get more car rotation. So this is the opposite of the braking and how much braking power and car rotation and grip you have. This is about trying to not have the back step out instead of understeering. So this is trying not to oversteer. So this is all about finding that rotation on the wheel and matching it with how much power you can give it and how much you can keep the car rotating as much as you need to hit the curb and use all the track. So see how there I'm full on the gas. I know that this car has the grip right now to make it around there entirely without letting off the gas. So it could look like I'm about to run out, but I know this car has the grip. So it's just a matter about finding that balance between accelerating enough so you're not losing the back end, but you're getting as much speed possible and as much acceleration possible as you can, while also having that rotation and using all the track you can. So doing all that, I'll do that at speed. So yeah, going there. Find the braking marker, I can see the light. Stay off the curb, get that extra bit there. Use the apex, gradually accelerate, use all the track possible. I could probably go out wider there, but if I go out wider there, it's not very beneficial. Like there's no benefits, there's no downside to it. It's just cool, you use all the track, but then you also got to make sure you get back on the track, and you don't really have much time on that curve to get back on the track. So it could cost you like 100ths or 200ths. Every millisecond counts. But yeah, so this is all just flat out. I'm using a lot of the curb moves because this car's fine with the curbs. Use as much as you can to gain a lot of time. Death chicane. Gonna pause it here because I see a lot of people doing this, even in daily races, FIA races. I see a lot of people not doing this. They're not using this curb as they're not using this curb as a method to help them turn into the first part of the chicane. Obviously in Group 2 cars it's easy to go through here flat stick. Group 4 cars, it's a lot harder. Group 3 cars on hard tyres, I've learned, over the time that Group 3 on hard tyres is the line that I draw where you need to kind of back off a little bit. If you're on medium tires or soft tires, you can most of the time go through here flat stick, even in Group 3 cars. Now being in Group 2, doesn't matter what you're on, it's going to be flat stick. Even if you're on hards, it's flat stick. So this curb obviously isn't flat with the track. Obviously, it's raised up a little bit. So there's a good 5-10 degrees of like camber on the curb to pull you in. So obviously, if you're driving your car downhill, it's gonna reach top speed faster than if you were doing it uphill. That's because of gravity. Obviously, everyone knows gravity, but in terms of this, the gravity on the right hand side of the car, which kind of counteracts and makes it go to the left hand side because the car is one thing anyway. That helps the car push it more towards the left because you're on an angle. So it's the same with curbs that are banking, like NASCAR on their turns. They're not turning as much because the banking is pushing the car towards the apex if they do turn. The banking is helping them turn. So this is another little tip you can use. So make sure you hit this curb, use the banking of it, and it well, that lighting. Use the banking of it, and it helps you turn. I don't know why car's full jittering like that, but yeah. So use the banking of that. It helps you turn. In terms of these turns, I try to get as close as I can to the wall because if you can, quote unquote, jump it, it helps. So see how the car got a bit out of hand now? I kind of jumped it, but it's easy to control if you know how to do it. So here, I try to not use the curb in general. I try to go through the middle of it if we're using the outer curb and the wall as a reference point. I try to go the middle of it and I try to jump the curb in a way which obviously gains you speed. So you notice here I use this bit and I try and jump the curb in a way. Also, I try not to have my right tires touching the curb when I get back on because that will send me over into the wall. So it's okay if you have your left tires touching it because then that'll just send the car to the right, like it'll make the car angle to the right. It'll get you that extra turn in, I guess, somehow if you can control it. So yeah, I tried not to have my right tires touching it. So I kind of went to the right, to the left a little bit. That bit made me go super close to the wall. Again, this is also me just trying to get the car in a straight line and take as straightest line as possible while using all the track. You'll see a little few sparks here. Well, kind of kiss the wall a little bit. But yeah, I'm just sticking to the wall as best I can. And, you know, getting the shortest line to the flag as I can, or to the line as I can. So I'll do that in full force. Speed. Get on the throttle gradually. Do some more turns. Cut the curbs here as much as I can without kind of sending the car to the wall. Use that curb on the outside, stay close to the wall, jump the curb. Stay in a straight line as possible. And here, I'm just hugging the inside, trying to get as least distance covered with the lap being completed. Yeah, so this bit here, braking marker here is anywhere between the 100 meter board and the start of the curb. That's more or less a smaller braking area. You can brake at the 100 meter board or just before it. You'll need to adjust though. So yeah, so if you brake too late, then you can adjust. If you brake too early, adjust again. But yeah, so anywhere between the 100 meter board and the curb is your braking area. I tend to brake on the curb start just because. So you'll see I'm full brake. I'm off the brakes at about 55% because I'm trying to get that rotation, find a balance between it. So the balance between the braking power, rotation of the car, and the grip you have available, so you don't understeer and go off. This turn actually nailed this lap, so I was pretty happy about it. So, you know, getting towards here. You can also get off the brakes. So see how I'm pretty much off the brakes in general. Like I'm pretty much off the brakes. You'll see here as well that I go down to gear 2. So that helps me get a little bit of extra turn in that I notice I need. So right now I'm thinking, oh crap, I'm not going to hit the apex, you know, and get that extra turn in that I needed to get on the gas as early as possible to get as much speed as I can going up to the line. So you'll see me go down to gear 2, just because, there you go, so I'm down to gear 2, just because I need that extra turn in. So going down a gear can make the revs higher in most cases. No, sorry, that was dumb. It makes the revs higher, and it's used in most cases in turns. I guess we need to get that extra bit of turn in. Again, there's a lot of physics to it and a lot of stuff about it. It's too much to go into detail, so I'm trying to explain it as best I can. Probably shit. As quick as I can. But yeah, so I'm going back to gear 2. That gives me that extra bit of turn in, and that lets me hit the apex of that turn. So see how I've just hit the apex pretty much there. I'm already starting to accelerate. Again, trying to find that grip between how much I can accelerate, how much rotation I have, and how much grip I have in the car, so I'm not oversteering it and I don't lose the back end. So how much speed I can gain out of this as well. Going through it, I'm pretty much flat stick, you know. So right now it looks like if I stay flat stick, I'm gonna run out. But because I did that change down gear for like half a second or a second, I got that extra bit of turn in, which allowed me to get on the throttle earlier and use the grip and the rotation of this car and maximize it earlier. So I can now, you know, do this steering and go straight up to the edge there, use as much as I can, get into a straight line as possible, and use as much as I can, get the car and then hold it to the left, because you obviously want to keep as small a distance as possible to the line, and just flat stick to the end. I'll run through that lap time. I mean, you can see my lap. 129.886. I'll do the whole lap in full force, and I'll just let you guys kind of observe what I do in each lap, each turn. Start with notice how I'm not letting the car red line fully. Changing it when it gets into the bar. Brake, control brake, find the balance. Accelerate, that's it. Absorb the track. Set yourself in. Brake in a straight line. Find that balance again. Use the banking of the turn. Around that. Use as much as the track, get all the way to the right. Try and keep it as straight as possible while using all the track. So straighter, cars, faster quick. I didn't change gears there because gear 5 is obviously high revs and gear 6, so I think we'll stay off the left hand curve there because it kills the car. Find the balance, use all the track you can. Cut the curves, which you can. Use the curve on the right hand side to get to the in. Stay as close as you can, kind of jump the curves on the side. Stick to the left hand side, making it short distance if you can. Again, here, just trying to find the balance. Use the banking, so it's bigger here. Extra gear down to gear 2, get that extra turn in. Use as much track as I can. Keep it to the left, that's it. Keep changing throughout the lap. Don't rev line it, keep changing the gears just as the bar fills up. Cool, that's pretty much my lap explained. It's probably not the greatest video. Flame me as much as you want, whatever. But yeah, so that's my lap guide around there. Feel free to ask me any questions, and I will see you next time if I do another lap guide for round 2 maybe, I don't know. See what happens, but I hope this helped out. Any questions, ask me, I'll happily answer them on the site or even in a player chat if you want to explain it in detail, like the physics of the car, what the car does and all that stuff, and the physics of everything.